Albania isn't on everyone's radar yet, and that right there is a part of the appeal. But before you pack your bags, there are definitely some things that you should know, both good and the challenges as well that you might run into while you're there. I want to share with you our unfiltered experience as Black American expats to help you decide if it's the right place for you. So whether you're a retiree or an expat looking to stretch your dollar or curious about life in one of Europe's most underrated and affordable countries, by the end of this video, you'll know our honest pros and cons about Albania, as well as things we wish we knew before we arrived. So let's get into it. Starting with the pros, as always, Albania is hands down one of the most affordable countries in Europe, and this is the biggest reason why many expats and retirees are starting to take notice. Your money goes so much further there compared to Western Europe or even popular expat destinations like Portugal or Spain. To put this into perspective, we spent 35 nights in Tirana in a beautiful modern apartment for just $750. That's about $21 per night, and trying to find that kind of accommodation in Paris or Rome, if that's what you're interested in, for that price is just not possible at all. Now, if you've been looking at places like Thailand, Vietnam, or other Southeast Asian countries because of how affordable they are, but you might be hesitating to go because of the distance, Albania might be exactly what you're looking for because your dollar is going to stretch a whole lot further, but you don't have to travel as far because you're still in Europe. So that means you're only a direct flight away from the major US cities and you're not dealing with the crazy time zone differences. So think of Albania as your middle ground. You still get the adventure, the affordability, and the experience without being on the other side of the world because you're still in Europe. And beyond housing, everything else is affordable as well. We spent maybe $100 on groceries a week for the two of us. And that's because we were shopping at grocery stores instead of markets, which was not the greatest move, but we'll talk about that later. So for retirees living on Social Security or a fixed income, Albania offers a genuine opportunity to live comfortably, even well, without constantly worrying about your budget. You can actually enjoy life here, dining out regularly, taking day trips, experiencing the culture, all while spending less than you would just covering the basics in most Western countries. This affordability doesn't mean you're sacrificing quality either. You're still getting access to fresh Mediterranean food, beautiful scenery, and a comfortable lifestyle. All right, let's talk about safety. This isn't something that we take lightly whatsoever. Safety is always a major consideration when we're choosing where to travel or where to live, and Albania definitely exceeded our expectations. So before visiting Albania, we heard a lot of things, like we weren't sure how it would be because people have their preconceived notions, especially people who have never been there. Even when I tell people that I've been to Albania, they are very surprised because they just aren't aware of what life is like there. But I'm going to be honest and real with you. Albania exceeded our expectations. We honestly felt very safe there, and I was surprised and thankful. Especially since you hear all these stories about places in Europe, like Spain, where tourists are literally being harassed in certain cities. Locals are spraying tourists with water guns, holding up tourists go home signs. It's literally crazy. But we never experienced or saw any of that in Albania. It's a completely different vibe. We walked around at night, we explored during the day, we ventured through local neighborhoods away from the touristy areas, and all throughout that, we felt very comfortable. I also try to keep solo female travelers in mind as well, and put myself in their shoes. I can definitely see myself traveling to Albania and feeling completely safe by myself, and I feel like that says a lot about the country. Yes, of course, we got stares, mainly from older Albanians who seemed curious more than anything, and they have absolutely no shame about it. They will literally just look at you and not say a word. And I can't really blame them because Albania is not particularly diverse yet, so seeing Black people is still somewhat new in many areas. But staring out of curiosity is very different from hostility. Obviously, you should use common sense. Don't wear flashy, expensive items. Always be aware of your surroundings, like we always say. Don't leave your valuables unattended, but those are just universal travel tips that apply anywhere, not specific concerns about Albania. The third pro changes the game for potential expats and retirees who are interested in living abroad because as of right now, US citizens can stay in Albania for up to 1 year without a visa, and I don't know any other country that offers that level of flexibility. You literally show up with your passport and you're good for a whole 365 days, and this is incredibly rare and makes Albania one of the easiest countries in the world built for Americans to test out expat life without dealing with the complicated visa applications up front. But it gets even better because if you fall in love with Albania, which I'm sure you will during that year-long visa-free period, the country offers several straightforward paths to temporary and permanent residency. You can apply for a residence permit based on your retirement income, starting a business, or other qualifying factors. So for retirees especially, this removes a lot of the stress and the uncertainty of the expat planning process. You can literally book a one-way ticket, show up, and have an entire year to figure things out. And that brings me to our next pro. One of my favorite things about Albania right now is that it's still relatively undiscovered, and honestly, we need to enjoy this while it lasts. When we started posting our Albania vlogs, we saw so many comments of people saying things like, "I've never even considered this country until your videos." And that's exactly what makes it so special right now. You're not fighting with crowds at every attraction. You're not waiting in line for an hour just to get to a restaurant. And you're definitely not dealing with the gross over-tourism vibe where everything feels like it was curated just for Instagram. Right now, Albania has this very authentic energy that's very hard to find in Europe anymore. You can still stumble on incredible beaches, ancient ruins, and mountain villages that aren't swarmed with tour buses. We could just tell from our own experience that locals are genuinely excited to see tourists because it's still somewhat new to them. So they're not burnt out and resentful like in Barcelona and Venice. You can have real experiences without everything being super overpriced, which I love. And it just feels like discovering a secret place that no one knows about yet. But the reality is, this won't last forever. Albania is already starting to pop up on those hidden gem and budget travel lists, so more people are definitely catching on every year. In 5 or 10 years, this place could easily become the next Portugal or Croatia, which are definitely beautiful places, but they're just way more crowded and expensive. So I can even tell by the infrastructure and the construction that's going on. There are so many apartment buildings that are being built right now, and they're just preparing for it. So if you're thinking about visiting or spending some time here as a digital nomad or a retiree, now is genuinely the time. Get here before everyone else figures it out, because once you do, you already know it's never going to be quite the same. And speaking of discovering places before they get too popular, here's another massive advantage that makes Albania even more appealing: Albania's location. This is something that benefits short-term tourists and long-term expats equally. So since Albania sits right at the crossroads of the Balkans and the Mediterranean, you're literally neighbors with Greece, Montenegro, North Macedonia, and Italy is also just a short ferry ride across the Adriatic Sea. So for tourists, this is a game changer because you can easily combine Albania with other Balkan countries in one trip. If you want to see the Greek islands, you're already there, or maybe you're just curious about the Montenegros, I don't blame you. It's just a few hours drive. Now for potential expats and retirees, it gets even better. Albania becomes your affordable home base while you maintain easy access to all of Europe. Just think about it. You're living your best life on a budget that's a fraction of what you would spend in Western Europe, but you can still hop on a cheap flight and be in Rome, Athens, Vienna, or even Paris within a couple hours. To put this into perspective, our flight from Madrid to Tirana was just $91.51 for the both of us. That's less than $46 per person for an international flight across Europe. You simply cannot beat that kind of affordability combined with Albania's cost of living. For retirees, this means you're not isolating yourself by choosing an affordable country. You can still travel, explore, visit friends in other parts of Europe. You get the best of both worlds, living affordably day to day while maintaining the freedom and flexibility to experience the rest of Europe without breaking the bank. And if you need access to specialized services, major European hubs are never that far away. And speaking of Albania's strategic location, you do not even need to leave Albania to experience diversity, because this country has everything packed into one relatively small place. Within just a few hours, you can go from exploring the busy city of Tirana to walking along the stunning coastlines of Durrës and Saranda. Highly recommend. You've got dramatic mountains in the north, pristine beaches along the Albanian Riviera, and if you're into history, there are so many ancient ruins dating back to thousands of years, so you will enjoy yourself. And this is exactly why we say that you will never be bored in Albania. If you're living here long term or as a retiree or an expat, you have endless options for weekend trips and day excursions without even leaving the country. And what makes it even better is that Albania has a Mediterranean climate, which means you're getting great weather. You're not dealing with months of freezing temperatures or endless gray skies like in Northern Europe. Even in the colder months, it's still comfortable enough to enjoy outdoor activities, and we love this because it means that we can be active outdoors practically all year round. So it wouldn't be right if we didn't mention the quality and the freshness of the food here. If you're from the States, you know how it's almost impossible to access quality fruits, meats, and veggies that aren't imported or genetically modified in some way. I'm honestly even starting to question organic these days. It's a shame. But the produce at the markets in Albania is incredibly affordable and everything tastes like how it's intended to, just real quality good food. So this alone was a major blessing for us. You're getting fresh Mediterranean ingredients at prices that would shock most Americans. I'm talking tomatoes that actually taste like homegrown tomatoes, bread that's baked fresh daily without a list of mystery ingredients, and olive oil that's locally produced. It's so delicious. We also had some of the best seafood ever in this country. Since Albania has such a long coastline along the Adriatic and Ionian Seas, the seafood is caught fresh and served the same day in many restaurants. So whether you're in a coastal city or even in Tirana, you're getting access to incredibly fresh fish, all prepared in a traditional Mediterranean style. For retirees and expats, this means you're not just saving your money on food, you're actually eating healthier and a lot better than you would be back home. Plus, dining out is pretty affordable as well. You can regularly enjoy meals at a local restaurant without feeling any guilt. Lastly, something that really surprised us and made our experience in Albania so much smoother is that the language barrier isn't nearly as bad as you might expect, especially in popular areas in cities like Tirana. We traveled to several countries where English simply isn't widely spoken, and it can make even basic tasks feel exhausting. But in Albania, we found that many young people speak at least some English. Whether we were at restaurants or shops, we could almost always find someone who could communicate with us. Even Uber drivers and younger locals we bumped into knew enough English to have basic conversations. Keep in mind though, this doesn't mean that everyone speaks English everywhere. Especially if you venture into rural areas or smaller mountain cities, you will definitely encounter more of a language barrier. That said though, we still recommend learning some basic Albanian phrases. It just shows respect and locals really appreciate the effort. Albanian is not the easiest language to learn, but a good one to start is Faleminderit, which means thank you in Albanian. Faleminderit. Yes, I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. Now that we covered all the pros, it's time to address the not so great parts about Albania that we didn't enjoy. You know we always keep it real with you guys, and this time is no different. But first, if you're enjoying this video so far, hit that like button so more people like you can find this video and get real unfiltered truth about what it's like to live in Albania. The first con I want to address is the smoking culture in Albania. If you've done any research whatsoever, you probably heard other people complaining about the same situation, but we can absolutely confirm that this is very much a real thing. People smoke everywhere. There are times when we wanted to sit outside and just enjoy the fresh air at restaurants, and it was nice, but you would definitely smell cigarettes in the air. And it's not just an occasional thing, it's genuinely a part of the culture there. So if you're sensitive to cigarette smoke or have any respiratory issues, this can be a real challenge and might even be a deal breaker for you. For us, it wasn't enough to make us leave, but it's definitely something that we noticed on a daily that we had to adjust to. So if you're a non-smoker, just know that this is something that you need to accept as a part of life in Albania. Our second con would have to be the trash situation. It just seems like bins are constantly overflowing and trash is in the street, especially in Tirana. And as you can imagine, in the hot summer heat, that does not smell the greatest, but this is a real issue that we saw firsthand. The problem is that waste management infrastructure is nearly non-existent. There is no nationwide system for how waste should be handled, which means that the majority is either burned illegally or dumped in unauthorized landfills along roadsides or riverbanks and flowing directly into the rivers. It's so sad. One main reason for the lack of proper waste infrastructure is because of the limited financial resources of local municipalities. They can barely afford to clean the streets and in some cases fund basic waste collection, but there is no money left to properly source and recycle the waste. This isn't just a city issue. Even in rural areas, this is also a struggle. Waste containers are often located far from people's homes, or there just isn't enough of them. In addition to lacking proper disposal infrastructure, environmental awareness is just often limited in these regions. And like I said before, Albania is a beautiful country. It's only a matter of time before more people catch on and the tourism continues to rise. But the boosting tourism shouldn't be the main priority if trash can't even be managed right now. So I really hope that Albania gets this under control for the sake of the locals, of course, and the environment. The third con is the long waiting time for bill and change at restaurants. Oh my goodness. This isn't the worst thing in the world, but it definitely took some getting used to. There were times we had to wait maybe 20 to 25 minutes when the restaurant wasn't even busy just to get our change back. And this happened in Saranda, so I guess it's just that laid back culture there. No one is really in a rush, which I understand. It's a slower, Mediterranean pace of life, which is nice in some ways, but it's very frustrating when you're ready to leave and you're stuck waiting for someone to bring your bill or return with your change. So if you're someone who values efficiency or quick service, this might test your patience just a little bit. So just know that this is normal here and just slightly adjust your expectations. The fourth con is driving in Albania. We rented a car for maybe a week or so, and there were some crazy drivers out there, especially in Tirana. And we're from New York, so we know what reckless driving looks like. You'll see people weaving between lanes, cutting you off at the worst time. It definitely takes some getting used to, and honestly, it could be very stressful if you're not used to driving in that kind of environment. I wasn't even driving, I was in the passenger seat, and I was still getting stressed from it. So I will say though, once you're out of the main city center areas, it's not as bad. The highways and the rural roads are generally more manageable, but sometimes if you're driving locally, the roads can be so narrow that cars and trucks can't even get past each other. This creates a bunch of congestion and backups, especially in the older parts of the city. Parking is also ridiculous in Tirana. Finding a spot can take forever. You'll see cars parked on sidewalks, basically in front of driveways. Anywhere there's a sliver of space, they're getting in there. So if you're not confident behind the wheel or you get anxious in chaotic traffic situations, you might just want to stick to the taxis, Ubers, or public transportation in the cities. It'll save you a whole lot of stress. And our last con is that Albania is still very much a caste-based society. Depending on who you are, some people might not consider this a con at all, but if you're used to using your card for everything like we are, since we hardly ever carry cash on us, this can be a little bit of an inconvenience. Many smaller restaurants, local shops, and even taxis only accept cash, while larger establishments and international chains in Tirana and other major cities, they do accept cards, but you can't rely on being able to pay electronically everywhere you go. Thankfully, there are ATMs all over, especially in the cities, so accessing cash isn't difficult. Just be prepared to hit the ATM regularly and keep some lek on hand for daily expenses. It's just one of those things that you just have to adapt to as part of life in Albania. And there you have it, our honest pros and cons about living in Albania as American expats. If you have any questions for us, leave them in the comment section. We always answer them. And if you are curious about the cost of living in Albania and how much money we spent while we were there, watch this video next. It'll be very helpful to you. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.